हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक। तो हमारी जो स्टोरी रह गई थी उसे आज की वीडियो में कंप्लीट करेंगे। चलिए शुरू करते हैं। It was difficult to progress through the crowd, especially with the boy's feet faltering and lagging at every eating stall in his route. Expo 77 had provided snacks and drinks at every stop. Mounds of green chilies, cucumber, and tomato, vegetable bhajis, wafer like applum sizzling in oil and expanding like the full moon before your eyes, or fresh golden jalebis out of the frying pan, not to mention scores of other delicacies enticing passers-by both by sight and smell. Raman felt a surge of compassion for the child who had taken to him so spontaneously. "Do you like to eat?" he asked. "Yes," said the boy promptly and pointed at a cotton candy trolley. Raman was afraid to let go of the boy's finger for fear he might get lost again, and left him to use the other hand for gesticulating or eating. Soon the boy buried his face in the crimson floral mass and lost interest in the other sides of the exhibition. When it was finished, Raman asked, "Ice cream?" The boy nodded appreciatively, and Raman bought 2 cones of chocolate ice cream and kept the boy company. Raman forgot for the moment his own travel, the gloom and boredom which had seized him, making existence a dreary cycle of morning, noon, and night. He asked himself as he watched the boy, "Why am I happy to find him happy? Who's he? Perhaps my child in our last incarnation." He wondered in what other way he could make the child happy. "Do you want to ride on that wheel?" he asked, pointing at the giant wheel, which groaned and whined and carried one sky high. Of course, the boy welcomed the idea. Raman pushed the boy along towards the wheel and took his seat in the cradle, holding the boy at his side. Good way to keep him from eating, Raman thought. He was getting concerned with the boy's health. Should he complain of stomachache, he would never forgive himself for overfeeding him. As he sat waiting to be whirled up on the giant wheel, he had enough time to reflect on the situation which was developing. This child didn't seem to bother about his parents, perhaps an orphan who had strayed into the exhibition grounds. But how nice to think he was not going to be an orphan anymore. He would train him to address him as Daddy or Appa. As the giant wheel went up gradually, his thoughts too soared. The boy clutched his arms tightly. Raman murmured, "Don't be afraid, I'm here. Enjoy yourself." If people questioned him, "Who is this child?" he would reply, "My son. You remember Daisy? She had brought him up in a convent, one of her funny notions, but I took him away. You know, a child must be raised in the atmosphere of a home. Where is his mother?" they might ask. "I don't know. She ran away with somebody," he would say as a revenge for the anguish Daisy had caused him by letting him down at the last moment on the eve of their wedding, after having slept with him day after day. He suddenly glanced to his side and asked, "What is your age?" The boy blinked and shook his head. Raman pronounced, "You are not less than 7 years," and to the question as to how Daisy could have a 7-year-old son, since she had come down to his town only 2 or 3 years before, he replied aloud, "I will have to invent an answer, that's all." At this, the boy looked up bewildered and asked, "When will this go up fast?" Raman felt he would be quite content to stay there and not go up higher, as he feared it might make him uncomfortable. But the boy was evidently becoming impatient. In order to divert his attention, he engaged him in conversation. "Will you come with me to my house?" "I feel hungry," said the boy. "I want something to eat." Marveling at this appetite, Raman said, "If you come to my house, you will have all the eating things." The boy sat up attentively. "Chocolates or ice cream or bubble gum?" "Yes, everything, and also plenty of jalebi. I like jalebi, surely," the boy said, happy at the thought, and inquired, "Can I help myself, or should I ask you each time?" "It will all be yours. You may take and eat as much as you like," Raman said. The boy's mouth watered at this vision. "My father says I will be sick if I eat." "Where is he?" The boy shook his head. "Is he somewhere in this exhibition?" The boy somehow didn't wish to pursue the subject. Evidently, he was afraid that he might hand it over and thus lose access to all that store of chocolate and bubble gum. Raman said, "Of course, you must not eat too much. You will have a tummy ache." "No, I won't," said the boy confidently. "When my uncle came, you know how much I ate." He spread out his arms to indicate a vast quantity. Raman felt happy to note the health of the boy. Otherwise, if he was sickly, he might have to take him to Malgudi Medical Center to be treated by Dr. Krishna. Oh, he could not stand the anxiety if the child became sick, with no one to look after him at home. Of course, he had never to give him a room. The room he had cleaned for Daisy in the hope she was going to occupy it next day was still there. But she had deserted him. The boy could make it his own room, keep his clothes, books, and toys, and have his bed there. He hoped that he would sleep alone and not cry out at night. He must train the boy to sleep alone and look after his books and clothes. He could send him to Kala Primary School, not too good, but he knew the headmistress, having given her a signboard free for her school, actually a 2 by 6 plank, and he had used plastic emulsion with a sprinkling of silver powder. The school was across the road near the temple, and the boy should be trained to go up and return home by himself. Unfortunately, he would have to come to an empty house after school. A pang shot through his heart. But for Daisy, messing up his life, his aunt would still be there, as she had been since his childhood. She would have lived there to her last hour. She had felt that she must clear the way for Daisy by banishing herself to Benares. Oh, when she managed the home, he did not have to bother about food. Food and snacks she provided at all hours, always stayed at home and opened the door for him at any hour, day or night. Nowadays he mostly starved, too weary even to make coffee or go up to the boardless hotel, where the company bored him lately. He couldn't stand the repetitive talk and smugness. Could be that the mistake lay in him. He must have changed after Daisy's treachery.